Thank you very much, Philippe. Thank you, Simran, Vincent, Franck, and Philippe for the invitation. I'm very much aware I'm the last obstacle before the cocktail, so I will try to be as interesting as possible, so you know why you stay until the end. So yes, I propose to revisit a topic that I've been studying in 2010, 2020, 22, trying to integrate this discussion on the digital intermediaries more precisely here. And it will be on the reconfiguration of the craft industry in India with the arrival of Silicon Valley players, but also national and local players, as you will see. Just to contextualize, a few words of contextualization on this research. It was part of a larger research program that we started in 2017 with Philippe, funded by the LabEx, on cultural industries in India, digital platforms and regulation. We were studying the socio-economic transformation in different cultural sector, music, audiovisual, and then craft, related to the arrival of communication industry players from telecommunication, e-commerce, and analyzing more particularly the partnership power relation that also emerged from their deployment, question of reconfiguration of work processes and policy regulation. So here are a few publications that came out during the program. And here I will be focusing on the craft industry, which is maybe less visible or maybe less studied. It's an interesting sector to study because it put the emphasis on a cultural product with a strong material dimension, conversely to film or audiovisual. It doesn't get into a dematerialized format. Also, it's important to consider that until recently, most craft communities in India had very little access to smartphone. The access is still limited, but there were lots of hope put into the digital infrastructure, platform, e-commerce, very high expectation to improve economy and livelihood. So we're going to see how it really took place. I will be addressing here the following question. Who are the different Silicon Valley platform and other digital players investing into the craft sector in India? How and why? To what extent platformization led to formalization of a new layer of intermediaries, or if I can reformulate it in the hand, from the former historical middleman to a new type of middleman. And it will also invite more broadly to question the increasing role of data and data company to organize cultural production. This presentation will be based more specifically on two exploratory fieldwork, one in Assam, a state at the north of India, mainly rural. It was a fieldwork conducted with my colleague Manish Singh in 2020, just before COVID, and we did follow up during the COVID period. And in Tamil Nadu in 2022, so a state in the south of India, much more urbanized, industrialized, and economically powerful state. The methodology combined ethnographic approaches with political economy of communication. So a few words on the organization of this craft sector prior to the arrival of platform. The handicraft represent a major source of revenue in India, in a country where still 70% of the population is in rural areas, and where there is the most important part of the population working into craft. It's also an industry that relies on a majority of highly labor-intensive and decentralized small structured. It has been facing important structural issues over the past decades, mainly the lack of direct access to market for artisans, the complexity of intermediary system that also turn into a relative exploitation by middlemen of the craft communities, with high commission that have been denounced in lots of cases. Also location in remote areas that make it difficult for delivery system, and difficulty to adapt the product to new urban market, and low wages. Over the past decades, there've been training programs by state government, central government, to try to remediate to those different issues. There've been also the entry of designers, all kind of intermediaries, but structural difficulties have largely remained. So the situation has probably been also conducive to public and independent organization to increasingly rely on private partner, and including most recently the digital companies, with players from the cultural sector who were very much seduced by the discourse to modernize and maximize the cultural resources here. And I will just also mention as a background that the arrival of the platform we were mentioning are also taking place within a large national initiative, large program, the Make in India program and Digital India program by the government, where this new discourse has been largely encouraging partnership between ministries, departments from the government, and a wide range of digital players, both international and national. One other example in the cultural field is the partnership between Google Art and Culture and Ministry of Tourism and Culture for the digitization of heritage. In the case of craft, one of the first partnerships was between the Ministry of Textile and several e-commerce platforms in 2014. So this leads me to here arrive with an overview of those different digital players participating to the platformization of the craft sectors. So the first Indian platform, and here I'm mainly focusing on e-commerce platform that were launched, were actually homegrown Indian platform. The most famous, visible, important one and still operating today are GoCup, WeavSmart, and Craft Bazaar. They're e-commerce marketplace platform focusing on cooperation with, or focusing on the product made by cooperative and community-based weaver and artisans. So here we are very much in the case of a new type of middleman, but powered by technology and investing the field. On those platforms, a few characteristics: they're located in Bangalore and Hyderabad mainly. Their founders are usually engineers in technology or tech industry people, some of them returnees from the Silicon Valley. To give a few examples, the director of GoCup studied in the US, worked for HP Research Lab before starting this platform. The founder of Craft Bazaar, Arpana Chalu, was in IT business in Europe, Middle East, North America before coming to India. Same for the co-founder of WeavSmart, a former technical engineer, technical leader at Cisco. Those enterprises are around 20 to 50 employees, and they also present themselves as service provider for the entire supply chain involving the craft, and especially website development assistance, social media campaign, data-driven marketing service, payment gateway. Sometimes they also take care of all the logistic dimension, from the pickup of the product to the artisans and the delivery, sometimes going through third-party partner for the delivery. Some tech journals qualify those platforms also as textile and apparel technology solution providers. So we really see that the emphasis here is on the technology solution accompaniment to the client. And here, this pushed me to look a little bit more how other type of technical intermediaries were involved in the functioning of those platforms. So some of them are clearly explaining they were deploying in-house technology, but they also function with a wide number of other intermediaries, including cloud-based solutions, especially for inventory and order management, marketing and sales software for billing, inventory tracking, customer loyalty management, and payment service. It was difficult from digital ethnography to identify precisely those platforms, but for GoCop, there were some clear mention of partnership with technology companies such as Shopify, which is also used by several other homegrown Indian platforms, a Canadian company specialized in web development, Google Analytics, of course, and HubSpot Analytics, the French company, was also mentioned several times. The second type of player that arrived a little later were those Silicon Valley players with the first were Facebook and Amazon. Facebook launched the program Boost Your Business, dedicated to small and medium enterprises. And the company started to quickly collaborate with lots of regional partner, regional government, to complete the local offer for entrepreneurs, artisans, and craftsmen to bring their business online. Amazon had the Galahad program with the stated purpose to enable small business to benefit from e-commerce and grow their business. I have here a few pictures from their campaign where we really will come back to this, but the strong discourse on self-entrepreneur that will come on the artisans' activity, the idea to connect every place to a global economy. This insertion into a world economy is very strong in the emphasis of Amazon discourse. I could not resist to show you this one because you almost believe that Amazon is the leader of workers' revolution, you know. But that was a kind of campaign used by Amazon for its Galahad program. You see the declination, Saheli specifically for women, etc., women entrepreneurs. So how such company localize in the territory? I was actually attending one of their onboarding program in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, an onboarding program that was done both by Amazon and Flipkart representative at the same time, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. So they are doing those onboarding program precisely to explain the offer to people who are not necessarily with digital literacy, who may not know how to create an account, how to make their own profile online. So those sessions are there to precisely onboard people. They also come with photography equipment to take picture and start to build the catalog. All this for free. For now, it's free. The main concurrent, sorry, the main competitor of Amazon is Flipkart, owned by Walmart, and had its Smart program starting in 2019. Also, I wanted to mention Microsoft Reweaves here because it has been so maybe less visible, but also working on with the creation of what they call digital empowerment centers, new design curriculum, and building of their own e-commerce platform. So a third type of player I also wanted to mention here were a smaller type of player, the young generation of local entrepreneurs who will be creating craft e-commerce platform, but with only the craft from their region. Their profile is very different. We're here talking about enterprises of 1 to 5 person. Here we have Dhruvo Jyotideka, who is the founder of Brahmaputra Fable, who all of the local platform we met in Assam, the founder have background in engineering. Very often they sometimes come themselves from a craft family, so they very much understand also the need of the community. And their main issue is to raise funding to develop their company. Few of them, very few actually, have in-house technology. But there was this interesting example of Rahul, the founder of GetCraft, who is also aiding at the same time another company, which is a company of digital solution, Xcraft. And I came back to the interview done in 2020 with him, and he was already explaining this interesting articulation between the two companies that he had. So part of our company is also related to web design, app development, cloud computing, and we're currently trying to get hold on this machine learning, artificial intelligence, so we can use less manpower to maintain the website. Here he was talking about the craft e-commerce website. Our mission was to help artisans, how technology can help them, reach out to them, and that is still our mission. Whenever a query comes, we used software to track what is the progress of the query, what is the status of the artisan. But with data process technology, we can automate most of the steps. We can also use this data processing to showcase product in which consumers are really interested, can understand them better, what are their requirements. So we could already see that before COVID started, there were lots of experiments around this use of the technology to be reused in the case of this of very, very different kind of industry, and here the craft was one of them. So just to finish with a series of observations on this overview of digital players, we are with very contrasted player in terms of financial, technological powers, in terms of business model. It's evident that for Amazon or Flipkart, the interest is not to make revenue out of the sale of the craft, but it's to bring more, at the same time, small enterprises, new enterprises, and clients into all kind of verticals and offer of the platforms. Whereas the homegrown and local platform are much more reliant on the sales of the platform and also on funding by usually venture capitalist investment. Also, then the question of the beginning, why would those Silicon Valley players would then invest into such adventure and in the craft? The first one is, as you could see in the advertising, the symbolic function. They present themselves as very close to the small producer, patronage of the artisans, but also, I think from a much more strategic perspective, they are stepping into the last biggest segment to digitize in India. It's the micro and small businesses. After focusing on the big cities, who is the biggest market to digitize? It's those small and medium enterprises. So it's part of this strategy to bring into the global digital economy every small shop of the country. And in this perspective, also, we were talking about, in the previous presentation, big companies acquiring smaller ones for their digital services. I thought it would be interesting to mention that in 2021, Amazon acquired the 4-year-old startup based in Amazon, Purple, and it was helping offline store to go online. So the Amazon representative is explaining that Purpose has built innovative cloud-based offering that enable offline store in India to better manage their inventory and customer experience. So this was very much in their perspective to also, I think, also partner with local players and capitalize on already local build engineering solution. My last section, I'm checking the time.
It's okay, go.
Yeah, okay. I wanted to go a little bit further into how the arrival of this platform has been reconfiguring the industry, the limits also of this platformization of the sector, with a few observations. The first type of observation was more concerning, conversely to the idea that those big players, because they have the money, because they have the technological power, will easily arrive on the territory and position themselves and become the first dominant player. It's also come with lots of difficulties, and I think craft highlight also this. So in the case of Amazon or Flipkart, some of the difficulty that they made was, of course, the still limited number of artisans who are still with smartphone and with digital literacy. But more broadly, it's their operating modalities that are not adapted to the way this very informal industry is still working. The idea of having standardized product, of managing inventories, of meeting delivery deadlines, where you have very complicated logistic aspect to handle between the village and the warehouse and maybe the client after that. So there were lots of complication for Amazon when they involved the craftsmen to be able to meet their own requirement. One of their, again, adjustment that they, the solution that they found to this was to create their own packaging program for not only craftsmen, but for small businesses in remote areas. They created the easy shipping program, the fulfillment shipping program, when they would take part of the logistic, of course, with a charge, a fixed charge or a monthly payment. What is interesting is that they create even the logo fulfilled by Amazon. And for the craftsmen who would subscribe to the Fulfill program, they would appear more easily on the platform. The algorithm would, of course, make them appear more easily also on the platform and in the research. But you need to pay a large amount for this. And so it doesn't solve the solution for everyone. So just here to highlight the limit of this so-called direct access to new market that platform are promoting. We can see that it comes with a lot of obstacles on the way. And also what was shown from the beginning, the removal, the bypassing of the traditional middlemen who would take a commission by a new layer of intermediaries that are all charging at different costs, but a small survey highlighted that it's between 5 to 8%, especially with the small local platform, to 18%. Here it's only for easy shipping, but there are many other layers of charging that Amazon is having, for instance. So here we can see this actually shift from one type of intermediary to another. The second type of observation was more into how does it change the way of working for craftsmen. Here, so it was true that the COVID tended to accelerate the use of smartphone, and it brought important changes. With interviews that we conducted with craftswomen from Assam, actually a few months after COVID arrived, they explained that in their case, NGOs with whom they were already working for a long time helped them to use smartphone, and it was a big change here. I'm quoting them. Earlier, we didn't use smartphone. They, the Tata Trust they were working with, taught us how to use Instagram, Facebook, Google Pay, and how to make catalog and use Google Drive. Since the lockdown, we have learned how to sell online, and we have met a lot of buyers from far from away places. I had never imagined that I will ever be able to use a smartphone. It's a very big event in my life. There were a few interviews like that showed the enthusiasm. We can see how here we're not talking about e-commerce platform. We're talking about social media that actually brought a much bigger change in the practices because they can connect more directly, precisely, to also, you realize mainly they explain to new sellers, but it's mainly to the old sellers also with whom they're developing a different type of contact and business relation through mediated by the platform. WhatsApp has the advantage, even if you don't have digital literacy, you can record your voice. It bypasses the complexity of reading, for instance, or typing. So less dependency toward middlemen, but there are also lots of tension that emerged and that were also spoken during the interviews, from transitioning to offline to online. One of them is the precarity that Maria mentioned this morning in her presentation related to the status of self-entrepreneur, and the difficulty of this multitasking that were involved by not anymore just managing your production, but having to do so many other things. As another craftswoman explained, if we have to do online business, whether it's photography or other work, we have to constantly keep using the phone, pay more attention to the importance to that work. We did not have to do this offline. So tension that emerged from this, also while the platform advertised for easier and faster access to international markets, it's important to mention that it doesn't automatically at all translate into higher revenues. There are also difficulties that come from the type of order. Those type of craftsmen usually produce in bulk. You will make 200, 300, 1,000 products. If you have a client who come with maybe 1 or 2 type of bag with specific requirement, the amount of energy you put in thinking about this product will be complicated to handle if you don't repeat the order as well. So all kind of difficulties. I'm not entering into those details here, but just to highlight that, again, the reality of the fieldwork show it's complicated to also meet even the requirement of taking any order from a client because of the type of organization. I will finish with a few words of conclusion opening here. The limit of the techno-solutionist discourse when confronted to the reality of the fieldwork that very much apply in this case. The also contrasted business model that we see emerging. This is probably something we have seen in every cultural industry. There are the coexistence of very different business model, but also I think this is definitely to pursue, and now I want to go a little bit deeper into this question, the reliance of homegrown and especially digital intermediary of a wide range of digital services that also very much push to the rationalization of the practices, to their organization, very much standardization also of the practice. And that's something that probably the different type of intermediaries very much accentuate and accelerate. And as it was discussed a little earlier, how under the project of empowering, connecting artisans to the world economy, the strategy of especially the largest communication industry players is very much to position themselves on this emerging market, the recently connected territory, recently connected population, collect new data and bring them into a larger offer that they are shaping. So beyond craft, it's the small, small enterprises market segment that need to be digitized and on which there is an increasing competition between digital services operator to be the first mover in that segment. And I think this case illustrates that wish to be the first mover there. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to discuss.